Hey guys, it's Keon and KB back with another episode of the KB Money Show. So today we wanted to discuss a topic that'll help you clean up your budgeting. So we really want to discuss how to discern between what's really necessary because you have to spend money to live. No one's gonna live like a hermit crab. In this
Right.
economy, you got to spend money to buy food, pay your rent. But today we want to discuss what's really necessary for your budget versus what should be considered fun money. Because there's a lot of budgets, and I'm guilty of this myself, but it's a lot of times where you put some on your budget and you said it was essential, but it wasn't essential. It's like during pandemic, they had all them essential workers. Your barber wasn't essential. Well, that's top for another day. But Ken, I'm gonna kick it to you. Like what has been something where you looked over your budget and it was like, did I really need that? I said I did, but I didn't need that.
Where so this one is interesting. So one that sticks out to me is definitely like the balance of like groceries versus eating out. Like, and sometimes you those lines can get blurred of like what was necessary versus what was a nice to have. So sometimes you could justify like, all right, well, I'm not gonna get a lot of groceries this week, and so we gonna eat out a little bit more. But you already know, like, if you go out to eat, you know, as you call it, that's gonna be a budget buster because, especially depending on what restaurants you go out to, like, you're not about to go in there and like skimp, and so what, especially like once luxury's tasted, it's hard to go back. So like, if hitting the steakhouse is your thing, and you probably average 250 to 300, you could lie to yourself or say, well, we just gonna get like some bare minimal stuff on the grocery side this week, and then you trying to justify it and like because I mean so and then we're gonna go out to eat, and it'll kind of balance out. Well, no, it's not gonna balance out. You're gonna bust your budget. And so being able to differentiate, okay, should that really have fallen in the fun money budget and should have been separate from groceries? And the answer is yes. And so, like, that's where I think is a major budget buster. It doesn't mean that you can't do it, but it's like when you're blurring the lines of trying to like have your grocery budget lean over into your restaurant budget, and it's not the same. Like, it's not the same at all. Now, another yeah, no, so I'll leave it there and I'll let you chime in and just get your perspective. And it's just me coming off the cuff, but like that's one that I think that could be realistic for people as they kind of process it. And they probably, I know I've done that, we've done that in the past, me and my wife. And so I'll kick it to you and get your perspective.
I think you're right on top of it. There's two categories that I think is really, really dangerous waters where you need to be careful. And so those two areas to me are food and fashion. And you really touched on food. So for me, I read this book and it talks about how, like I said, of course you have to spend money to live and to exist, but there's a gap between what you need to spend and what you spend. And that gap is determined by your ego. And when it
Mm,
presented to me like that, I was like, dang, that's deep. And so I give an example, like what you said with the food. So there's you need groceries and stuff to live and cook at home and eat. However,
yeah.
I don't know if they got Trader Joe's where you at, but I always find that
Whole Foods.
anytime
They got Trader Joe's, but they got Whole Foods too.
anytime me and my fiance go out to Trader Joe's, we end up with a whole bunch of snacks, a whole bunch of, ooh, that looked good in the moment. But then the
Yeah.
next day we like, now we back at Walmart buying real groceries. We should just went here in the first place. We ain't got nothing we can really eat, just a bunch of snack food. A bunch of feel good food, which is cool.
Yeah.
You can throw a little bit of that in your budget, but don't let that be your whole. Don't lie to yourself and be like, okay, I'm just going to get groceries here because you're going to have to go to Target or Aldi the next day and buy some real food. And so I'll give a quick example of like how you talked about eating out. So, and this is an example of spending with your ego versus being really logical and thinking out. So I remember I got my first, I think this is my first work check, or I'm feeling good. I'm feeling high. Like, okay, I gotta take my lady out. First check. I ain't gonna name the restaurant, but I took her to a nice seafood spot. They serve scallops, lobster, whatever you name it. And I'm feeling
Yes,
big
sir.
time. And so my My lady's a lot more fiscally responsible. I'll put it like that. She's a lot more fiscally conscious. And
There
so
we go.
in my mind, I was like, man, she broke it down to me. She was like, Keon, I really appreciate the gesture. I understand where you're
I
coming
know where this
from.
is going.
But this money could have went somewhere else. Like I know you love me. You ain't got to prove that. Like, Keon, it's I love you too. So let's so because I love you, next time you get a commission check, let's put it somewhere else. And I was like, dang, I really appreciate, the fact that she broke it down to me like that. And I appreciate that she's responsible because it could have been a very different situation. And if you don't have somebody on your team that keeps it real with you, or if you're not keeping it real with yourself, you'll just keep ego spending. You'll keep buying things that you don't need.
Probably when she was giving you that lesson, that might have been one of them times where you probably faded on me because like you like, bro, how should I do this? How should I do that? And I'm giving you the game, and then you probably ease off for a quick minute because like, dang, I didn't, man. But to your point, uh, I think you said it. I think you may have said it on the last video. It's like you're not gonna be perfect, like, and that's why I always, which is which I teach one of the principles that I live by myself is paying yourself first because like when you pay yourself first and you take care of your bills, you're gonna make a mistake. Like, and I wouldn't even really call it a mistake. You would know like, all right, I probably could have did something different with that, but like, all right, cool, move on. But at least you paid yourself first because it's a long life that you're gonna be living, and so as long as you develop those habits of paying yourself first, at least that will be in place, even despite of you kind of quote unquote making a mistake or whatever. And so the biggest thing I would say, like, just don't beat yourself up about it. It's easy to do that now. If you ain't paid yourself first and you ain't got no saving, you ain't got no emergency fund, and you making stuff like that, you're gonna mess around being your 30s broke, your 40s broke, 50s broke, and that's on you. You know what I'm saying? Now that right there, that is just not acceptable at all. But bringing it full circle, yeah, no, that's funny that she called you out in love on trying to do it big with that the celebration, which those are cool. The celebrations are cool, so you got to have that in there. So,
And it's funny because it's like you can what I learned from that experience and just moving forward was like you can celebrate, but you don't have to go above and beyond. Celebrate within your means. Because that dinner didn't feel as good as some of the dinners where we're at maybe Chick-fil-A or at a different restaurant that maybe was half the bill. Or it'll be times where I don't want to call it the restaurant name. Well, we go to the restaurant and we're like, man, I mean, we spent it, and we're not really tripping on the money spent, but we didn't feel it. We
right.
didn't really, where we go to another restaurant, we're like, man, we enjoyed it. The experience was awesome, and we didn't even spend that much. We just really enjoyed each other's presence.
Yeah. So I guess that goes back to what you said about that book that you read about the ego spending, and it sounds like you spent it with your ego and it wasn't even fulfilled. Like, man, that just felt good. Like, it felt good. We had a great experience. And so that's when you start getting into like the deep psychological stuff about like why you spending what you're spending, and it starts to make you kind of go down that path. And we'll talk about that in another video. But like money starts getting deep, and it starts forcing you to like reflect on your past and like, why am I buying this? Or like, I got this sum of money. Why did I go do that? Like, were you fulfilling some void that you feel that didn't happen when you were younger? Maybe you didn't get to eat out as much when you were younger. So like now you like hitting all the steakhouses. Like now you hitting all the fancy 5-star restaurants. But unless that was like your thing that you genuinely enjoy, or were you like feeling a void? Now that's different. Like,
Oh yeah.
that's different. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's a different type of blowing your budget. And we'll talk about that in another video. But like, that's a good cue up, for us to talk about another topic for sure.
So guys, if you take away anything from this video, understand that ego is expensive. And you ain't gonna never be able to fully
Wow.
pay off that tab because it's gonna keep growing and growing. So be careful.
Yep. Well, until the next episode, we'll catch y'all later. Thanks for tuning in.
Take care.